Today on YouTube, I'm going to prove a third wave feminist wrong. Very simple. My Wheel of Time videos not only got a lot of hate, I literally received threats to unalive myself over not liking the Wheel of Time. Like, these people are vicious, and this comment from this person, these comments from this one account, were not only funny, but proven completely based in ignorance and arrogance and a fundamental lack of understanding of Lord of the Rings. All I mentioned in the video was that I prefer Tolkien's work over Jordan's. Very simple. But again, you would think I walked up to someone and slapped them. It was funny. And this represents the kind of comments that I got, and I'm going to prove all of these comments wrong. To this day, this comment remains the funniest one that I've ever received. I feel like I'm reading some feminist lecture on the Tolkien Society or the OneRing.net. This is absolutely cringe, and I'm going to do my best to read this because this person's writing style, their grammar is appalling, and so is their spelling in some ways. Their word choice is really bad here. I don't think you went through university. I'm joking, by the way, but seriously. I think you want to get provoked, or provoke, saying Lord of the Rings all the time doesn't make it a better first book. It's a nod to Lord of the Rings, as Jordan said himself. But if you want to go so pro to Lord of the Rings, tell me how much woke is in them. Where are all the women? One is an elf who wants to bone Aragorn. One is a queen elf, and one is a noble woman who says, I am not a man. The books, in a book where 99% of men. Oh, and I know you're going to say, well, the book's from an earlier times. Ugh. But you don't apply it, is incorrect, to the Wheel of Time in the same area. How many perspectives do you get from Lord of the Rings? You have Frodo, maybe Sam, Gandalf a little, Aragorn a little. The rest is no perspective at all. You don't get any sight from the evil ones. Do you even know what Sauron even thinks? Oh, what he even does? You get nada evil perspective side. Zip, nothing. So brag about Lord of the Rings as it's the best thing ever. Zero LGBTQ stuff. No gender really in them. Even the Silmarillion book. Just, oh, that's what happens. And you can read a history book for that. Facts on what happens only. You say Wheel of Time sucks. I say Lord of the Rings sucks. Let's break this down. Like I said, your spelling, grammar, and sentence construction is not only appalling, it's like reading something written by a 13-year-old child. Secondly, let's break this one down. Woke. How much woke is in them? Just because something has woke points doesn't mean it's good. And a lot of people give woke literature and woke books a free pass for being absolutely shit. I mean, Prior of the Orange Tree, anyone? Seriously? That tried way too hard. Where are all the women? Elf who wants to bone Aragorn. Yes. But you know what? She's his motivation. And he's her motivation. Without either of them together, you would not have Aragorn. You wouldn't have that character. She is his backbone. And a lot of people don't realise that. An elf queen. Yes. Yes. Galadriel. This ethereal embodiment of femininity, who is far more powerful than you will ever know. She's very old, and she's been here for a very long time. She has spent her time learning. She has spent her time going through the realms of Middle-earth and all these areas, and it's just, her backstory is fascinating, but it doesn't apply here. But again, she can literally snap you in half with the click of her fingers. And, I mean, she's equal, if not more powerful than Gandalf. Then you say, the noble woman who says, I'm not a man. You miss the context of that. There is context to that statement, and obviously you're very much surface reader, or you've just watched the movies, but the context to that is that she is not a man. She is a noble woman. She is strong, she is powerful, and she can hold her own. That is the context to that. I'm not a man. And when you go into this, but maybe you don't need countless points of view shift. You never need to know it. Sauron is a villain who wants the ring. He wants absolute power. and he is willing to do anything to do it. Sometimes power is the motivation for a villain. It's simple. You don't need countless points of view shifts. I find the points of view shifts in the Wheel of Time frustrating most of the time because everyone sounds the same. Sometimes you want it. Then you mention no LGBTQ stuff. Well, is it applicable to the story? Do we need hobbits boning each other? No. No, we don't. We don't need that at all. And unless it's applicable to the story, it doesn't need to be there, and no gender really in it. The gender thing, again, this is a hero's journey. This is not the typical modern fantasy where everyone is equal and this and that. This is a hero's journey. The unlikely hero forced into a situation where he doesn't want to be. The main point of this book, The Lord of the Rings, is the journey of the Hobbit and the journey of perspective and the journey that he goes on. You really do miss that point. Woke does not make things good. And what I want to say on this, when you mention the Silmarillion is an important book. It is a history book. But it's a good history book. And there's lots of Lord of the Rings stuff that's fantastic. I feel like you're a very surface reader with absolutely nothing to add to this, nothing to give. You're just angry that someone doesn't like your precious book. You are just upset that you, obviously, I'm presuming female, maybe a degree in feminism of some kind, something useless. I presume that you have absolutely no clue what you're talking about, and you've studied the text from a one-sided perspective, probably from a feminist lecturer or teacher, and B, you're a surface reader that likes the more shallow, fluffy side of fantasy. Don't get triggered in my comments, because I will take the piss out of you, because it's funny. So this is an interesting comment, and I think this was from the same person. I can't even remember now, but they were so upset, and I'm not gonna read out the whole thing, because we will be here forever. But I'm going to bring out some points. So you as a gay man should know better to praise a book who comes from a racist dude like Tolkien. Who did I personally attack? Well, let's put it this way. Tolkien was not a racist, and the whole thing that orcs are black people is ridiculous and completely reductive conversation in this point. They are not. They are nothing to do with that. And it's ridiculous. Tolkien was far from racist, and again, I'm pretty sure you come from a very feminist perspective, which is very one-sided. Who did I personally attack? In comments that I'm not going to bring up here, you insulted my physical appearance, my gender, my education, and many other things. And also the line, you as a gay man should know better, don't weaponize that against me, because at the end of the day, this whole misnomer that if you are part of the Rainbow Mafia, you have to fit into a certain ball. Like, my politics and my personality and who I am as a person has nothing to do with sexuality. I just want to say that. Like, you as a woman should know better than to come at a gay man, especially when you are speaking over me. Maybe you need a good slap in the mouth, but that's a whole different issue. Then you repeat your first thing of the first few chapters of the world and nod to Tolkien. Then we go back to your point. If you talk as if Lord of the Rings is the best thing ever, a book has almost zero woman development in it and no diverse races in the book. The diversity of Lord of the Rings are the races within themselves. Tolkien specified that. They are hobbits, they are elves, they are dwarves, and the countless other beings and people that exist. Race in Tolkien's work is completely based on within that context of the world. It's not based on a real world context, and I think your ignorance is showing on the text with that comment. Zero woman development in it. I find that funny because Galadriel doesn't need to be developed. She's been there, done it, and seen it all. But there is female development. But again, it's the hero's journey. I just find it funny that you are so upset over this. And you still haven't said anything about what perspective you get from the evil side. The perspective from the evil side comes from other characters. And you spelled your spelling is bad. At the end of the day, people want power. It's a political struggle as well as a big one. And you have Shahraman, you have, obviously, the big evil himself, Shahraman, and you have these kind of factions against each other. Sometimes evil is all about power. It's not about, it's literally nothing about sometimes wanting, I don't know, to reshape the world in your own image. No. Sometimes evil is about destruction. Sometimes that's what it is. And only what it is. Evil is about power. Real world evil, military of the time, is about power and control. Now, the final part of your comment had me in fits of laughter. And this is also your spelling. Dear God. You know, I can always tell when people are really upset and triggered because their spelling falls apart in my comments, and the more angry they get, the spelling just disintegrates, and it's hilarious. So does grammar. So, he isn't evil per se, and we've gone over that bit. It's when it says, Tolkien copied all old folklore about elves and stuff, and that's okay, Jay, but if Jordan takes some from Arthurial legend, that's somehow bad. The difference being with Tolkien and Jordan is that Tolkien borrowed not just old mythology, he merged it together and created his own from it. So there's Anglo-Saxon, there's Nordic, there's Christian, there's Celtic. It's predominantly British Isles and predominantly Viking stuff and that kind of amalgamation. Jordan is in some places literally retelling Arthurial legend. That's how it felt. That story's been done a million times. It isn't new. And I want to clarify something. Without Tolkien, Jordan wouldn't exist. That's a whole thing. None of the fantasy that exists now would exist. But watching you just clasp at straws, I feel like with your comments, you were doing nothing but trying to keep going over these same points to get me to yield. Every time I proved you wrong with links, with discussion points, with everything, you literally just went over these same points. It was almost copy and pasted. You didn't look at anything I sent you, and you just wanted your opinions validated. I know you probably have a major in feminism or whatever, but seriously? Are you that ignorant to ignore the arguments that I put forward when I was answering your questions, but you were literally copy and pasting? And you know what? I don't like The Wheel of Time. I can't stand Jordan's writing. His character development, everything. I don't like them. The TV show was even worse. I'm sorry to say this, but, you know, I came at you with facts, and you literally copy and pasted the same boring BS over and over and over again. When I see comments like yours, I do laugh. I always will do, because they're funny. And at the end of the day, no amount of links, evidence, information that I presented to you was going to change your mind. You made that decision.